Hey guys, Rich here at RCINFORMER.com. Thanks for checking out this video on the STARMAX F-18. Today's video is going to show you how to reinforce the horizontal stabilizer. You can see right here as I grab it and kind of flex it up and down, it's got a lot of movement in it. There's really no structure that the factory built into this thing. And now that I have some good landing gear on the airplane, I'm flying it much more often now, and it's starting to stress out the tail. As you can see from this zoom in here that I'll give you, you can see I'm starting to get a couple of stress fractures. You can see right in the middle of the screen there. You can see where the foam is beginning to bend, and as I flex it, they kind of get worse. So I'm kind of afraid I'm going to end up tearing this tail off the airplane. So what we're going to do is put some carbon fiber rods in the tail. If you have a new airplane, that's really the best time to do it, but I hadn't actually put any in when I started building this airplane. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put them in there and show you how to do it. About the only parts that you're going to need to put spars in the elevators on this airplane are really the two spars themselves. To finish it up and clean it up, you'll need some of this. I use this pink Owens Corning foam that I get at Lowe's or Home Depot. It's pretty thick stuff. It's pretty dense, and it's easy to cut and make a nice. You can shape it to whatever you want. And then of course, you'll paint the finishing surfaces. But the tubes themselves, I'll give you a close-up here so you can kind of get an idea of what size I used. But for the larger tube, the main spar that runs all the way across from side to side of the horizontal stabilizers, I use this 0.157 outer diameter tube. And again, that's the main spar that runs from side to side. For the individual spars, there's two, one on each side. For a total of 3 spars you're going to use. I use this 0.1250, slightly thinner tube for those spars. And again, you'll see all this stuff in the following video. But anyway, there's a shot of it. If you want to duplicate what I did, those are the actual sizes that I used. The first thing you're going to do is take this drill bit. And I have a really long drill bit. I think I picked it up at Lowe's a while back. And anyway, you're going to go ahead and push it through the side here, and again guys, this foam, it'll go right through, and you're going to sort of drill it all the way through. There's a center section here that you're going to go through too, and then you're going to drill it through here, and you're going to get the then you're going to go ahead and take the rod, the carbon fiber rod. You're going to push it all the way through and get it so it lines up. You can measure from the leading edge here all the way back if you want, or you can use these marks, but you want to find and make sure that you have it as best as you can get it to perpendicular. And then once you have it like that, you can go ahead and cut the length of rod that you want to use. And if you take the spar and you go ahead and you spin it around, you can make sure it doesn't have any bends in it or anything, and that'll let you know that you can now use this as a guide. Once you find the place you want, you're going to go ahead and you're going to cut into the foam and make a slot for this rod to fit down into. Using a real sharp X-Acto knife and using your spar as a guide, go ahead and just cut a channel right here, right along this one, and right along this one, and do it all at the same time. Once you have all your marks cut, you can go ahead and slide this out, and you can see I have my initial channel marks all cut, and then we can go ahead and cut down into that and make a nice notch, make a nice groove for the spar to fit into. Using a hobby knife, you can simply just put your hobby knife in that notch and go ahead and just pop out all these little areas here that you cut. And if you need to, you can cut a little deeper and basically just get this trench as deep as you need for the spar to fit into. Here's a close-up shot of the spar trench that's cut. You want to make sure you get both of them deep enough that they'll both be the same. Then you can go ahead and take your spar and just sort of do a test fit through here and just kind of insert it all the way through, and then you're going to have to push it down in there and make sure it seats all the way down in there. If you need to make the trench a little deeper, then you can go ahead and do that now. But anyway, as you can see, it's a real nice fit in there, and what you can do is sand the surface of the spar lightly just to make it a little more gritty, and then you're going to go ahead and really just epoxy it in place. Okay guys, after I cut the first spar, I noticed that the spar that I put in was actually so tough that it actually probably might have made a weak part along this area here. From here forward it would be strong, but from here back with the flexing of this foam, it could end up breaking along that line. So what I did instead was I shortened it, as you can see, and I went ahead and added another spar in here, and it actually sticks into the foam here probably about an inch or so. So with some epoxy in there, that'll actually help strengthen it as well. But now I think it'll be much more durable. In addition, one of the things that I did here that you can see, I went ahead and cut the corners right here. And you can see there's a corner cut here, corner cut here. This is all going to be filled with epoxy, so it'll help bond and glue that entire joint together. And you can see on this side, I pretty much did the same thing. The additional part here that I cut, I'm just going to end up filling that this section here with epoxy just to fill it in, and that'll make it tough again. So if you guys do this to your plane, you can probably just cut it just as far as here and stop here, and that'll get you where you need to be. This is the kind of thing that happens when you're building, guys. When you make changes like this, sometimes you discover things along the way. But anyway, again, when you cut this trench here, you can probably just cut it as far as this point right here, and that'll give you the cuts you need to put the spars in. Now that all the spar slots are cut, we're going to go ahead and mix some 30-minute epoxy, and we're going to fill all these channels together at the same time on both sides of the airplane. So we're going to do it all in one shot with 30-minute epoxy, so you'll have to move pretty quick. But we'll mix it, pour it, we'll remove all these rods, we'll mix the epoxy, we'll pour epoxy into all of these slots, and then we'll go ahead and lay all the struts in, starting with this one that runs through the center of the airplane, and then this one down in here. Here's a look at the spars glued into position, guys, and you can see everything's neatly glued in. You notice that a little extra area that I cut too much of, you can see it's just filled with epoxy. But anyway, after this dries, I'll go ahead and show you some of the finishing items. Here's a look at the carbon rods that are already glued in. Again, we poured all the glue into here, all the epoxy. We put all the spars in at the same time. And it's now dry, and it's this whole tail is nice and rigid now, a lot stronger than it was before. What I'm going to do is you could probably leave this just the way it is and fly it as is if you wanted to, but I'm going to clean this up a little bit. As you can tell, there's a little bit of a trench in here in this epoxy, and I'm going to end up painting over this. But before I do it, I want to fill that in with something, and I'm going to fill it in with a little foam. First thing you want to do is just really to do that is to just grab like a round file or some sandpaper or something, and then just go ahead and scuff that inside surface so the glue, because we're going to use a little bit of CA on this, so the CA has something to stick to, and you can see I just kind of rough it up a little bit. Here's how it looks with the little U channels here all sanded and scuffed up and ready to accept some glue. The next thing you're going to do is just take some of this foam board. This is this Owens Corning stuff you get over at Lowe's or Home Depot, and you can really use whatever foam you want if you have something laying around, and just cut it into thin strips that are about the same size as this channel. And what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and glue it down into all these channels. Just take some foam safe CA, just run it along this edge, and it'll stick right to it really well. And just push it down in and just glue it into position into all of these trenches, and then just let the thing dry. Here's a look at the stabilizer with all the foam that I added to the remainder of the groove where the spars are in. And you can see I just glued pieces of the foam there. You can see right in this position here, I filled also the hole where I cut to get the spar to actually fit through the fuselage. Anyway, the next thing you want to do here is really just sand this thing all down. Before you do that, you just take a razor blade and just kind of cut off as much of the high spots as you can here, and you're just going to very carefully just remove as much foam as you can without cutting down into the groove. And then once you got all that cut away, or as much as you can, then you're going to want to use a sanding bar. You really want to make sure you use a sanding bar for this. If you just use regular sandpaper with your hand, you'll end up basically just sanding the groove back down again, or into the groove. So when you don't want that, you want it to be flush with the surface. So sanding bar will get this nice and flush. Here's a look at the bottom of the stabilizer after the sanding is complete. And again, you want to make sure you use a bar with a fine grit sandpaper, something like 220. And then once you get the initial sanding done, you're going to take some thin CA, and you're going to run it along the foam and let the foam sort of absorb the thin CA, and wipe it down with a towel, and then just let it dry. And then take your fine sandpaper again with the sanding bar, and run it over here. And the idea is you're just trying to get a smooth surface on this. You can do as much or as little work as you want to do on this. I'm only just trying to get it flat so it has a smooth surface and the U channel is gone. But if you really are into, you know, doing detail work and stuff, you can actually etch in the panel lines and so forth and put all those back. But I'm not going to go into that much detail with it. But you can see as you look close to it, it really is a nice smooth finish now, and it should there should allow the air to flow over it real nicely now. The next step is just to take an airbrush and just go over this with some paint and clean it up and make it look good again. This is also a good opportunity to you know, go throughout the rest of the model and you know, find any dents or dings that it may have, and you know, fill them in with foam, sand them down, and then you know, just paint over it. Here's a quick look up the tailpipes of the airplane, and you can see the one-piece tail spar running from side to side. You can see where the spar, the carbon spar, comes out of one side and goes into the dorsal section, which really helps with the strength. Runs into that through the dorsal there, and then goes back through into the other elevator. Also, you can see that little block, that little pink foam block that we put in from the outside that holds it in place. I've been flying this. This video actually that I'm shooting now is I've been flying the plane for several weeks now and have been yanking and banking with it, and it's much nicer to be able to know that you can pull on the airplane harder now, and this thing is just not going to break. Here's a look at the outside. You can see it really cleans up nicely if you have an airbrush and can you know, spray it down. It really is a nice clean finish. Use Tamiya paint XF-19. That's the matching gray color to fit this, and then I use their white and their red without having to mix anything in, and they're pretty much perfect matches. To recreate this diamond here, I just use, and this line actually, I just used a stencil, just kind of held it next to it, and then just sprayed it with the airbrush, and you can see it almost restores it back to looking original. So the tail fin, the tails are now nice and strong. You can see here now when I grab it and I move it, it flexes still, which you want it to. You don't want it to be too rigid, but it's nice and strong. And I know from experience now flying it this way, I can pull on it pretty hard. I don't have to worry about it breaking. Anyway, guys, that concludes this video on putting tail spars in the STARMAX F-18. I hope you found it informative. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Please subscribe to the RCINFORMER YouTube channel. Check out RCINFORMER.com. Thanks for watching. Check out the other F-18 videos that I put out, and appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time. Now it's got some good landing gear on.